Is that the amendment be disagreed to, and I call the honourable member for Goldstein.
Well, thank you, Deputy Speaker, and it's a great privilege to be able to speak in support of this bill, as other members have done so, but without the partisan pontificating of the member for Melbourne, because this bill comes to the heart of what the government is seeking to do to provide assistance for Australians who have a just reason to raise the legitimate grievances of abuse, neglect or violence, and to make sure that confidential information is treated with confidence to ensure that Australians who are victims of that in the context of the Royal Commission are able to do so related to the violence, abuse, neglect and exploitation of people with a disability with absolute confidence that their information is not going to be released without their approval. In addition to that, they'll be forthcoming and provide information so that the Royal Commission can fulfil its important role. It really shouldn't need to be said, Deputy Speaker, but there is no place for violence against and abuse or neglect or exploitation of people with a disability. I'm sure everybody in this House will agree that such conduct is abhorrent and it should be taken very seriously. And like many times where we have a Royal Commission, we often start from the basic proposition that we wish we never had need to. But for Royal Commissions to get to the bottom of the challenges that are faced and to make sure that the issues that sit at the heart of its calling can be fulfilled requires information, and for Australians to come forward and inform us, or inform the Commissioner, I should say, more correctly, and the Honourable Ronald Sackville, as providing the information base they need to be able to make fair determinations of the problems that sit at the heart of the system. And of course, they're both individual complaints, but also systemic ones. We dealt, as you may recall, Deputy Speaker, with similar issues in the context of the Human Rights Commission's inquiry into sex discrimination in this place, and the need to ensure that there were proper protections in place to make sure that those who wish to bring forward allegations and confidential information could do so and know that it would not be revealed at a later point or without their permission through other processes such as freedom of information. And this bill dealing with the Royal Commission to Violence, Abuse, Neglect and Exploitation of People with a Disability is implemented fulfilling the request by the Chair of the Royal Commission and to make sure that those people with disability and those who are also include a large number of advocates have sought these protections to make sure that that information can be brought forward. And of course, the tragedy of the need for a Royal Commission will lead to really what will be no doubt very confronting evidence, even if it is anonymised and de-identified. We all know that tragically there are people who do wrong against people in vulnerable situations or in vulnerable conditions. We saw that tragically in the Aged Care Royal Commission and of course the recommendations that came as a direct result of that. And sadly, I doubt many of us are expecting that we won't see systemic as well as individual problems in the context of people with a disability. The protections will apply if the information was treated as confidential by the Disability Royal Commission at all times after being provided by the Royal Commission. Sometimes the confidential status of information will change during the inquiry. For example, a person may decide to appear at a hearing and giving evidence after initially providing their story to the Commission on a confidential basis. Because many members will know, and many times we get approached with information and people subsequently decide they wish to keep it confidential for their own reasons or the protection of others, or of course because of the concern about their own health and security. And often when it comes to matters of health, the importance of medical privacy is a key condition of concern and it can lead people to become increasingly concerned about their privacy and their safety as a consequence of the release of information publicly. There will be information that will be protected, which will carry offences, if revealed, of up to 12 months imprisonment for the unauthorised use or disclosure of information. Any information provided will not be admissible against the person who provided it or on whose behalf the information was provided in any criminal or civil proceedings. And government amendments ensure that information that is given by a person or information which is given by another person on their behalf is not admissible in proceedings against either person. It's important that we recognise that some people may not feel confident telling their story to commissioners without these important protections, and also to ensure that family members and other carers feel confident of telling their stories. And people with severe or cognitive disability may be unable to give information themselves and may rely on a third party to provide their account to the Royal Commission. Of course, there are always challenges when we go around collecting information to important work such as this Royal Commission, but when we do so, what we critically want is a hard evidence base to inform the consideration of the Royal Commission and to ensure that it makes recommendations or findings and recommendations that are provided both to the public but also to this Parliament with the confidence that they have thoroughly and appropriately considered the weight and body of evidence available. But that only comes from courageous people who come forward and tell their story, tell their truth, and tell their lived experience as a mechanism by which we can learn, and establish the basis of our empathy, and where wrong has been done, that there's proper steps towards accountability. And if people fear providing that evidence base to the Royal Commission, then what is not just deprived is not just their story and their lived experience, though it is. What is not just denied, of course, is the capacity to inform the Royal Commission so that it can make full and judicious decision-making and recommendations to this Parliament, though that is also a critical part of it. But ultimately what is denied is the confidence that the public and the people of Australia will have in its recommendations. And what this bill is focused on is not just giving people a pathway to provide their stories with confidence, though it is. The real strength of it is that it will build public confidence that no stone is left unturned, that the Royal Commission is free in its capacity to do its work, that victims of abuse or neglect and other nefarious behaviour have a chance to tell their full story, and more critically, to have a Royal Commission that fulfils its purpose and maintains public confidence as part of a judicial process and a legislative process to ensure that the days confronting Australians with a disability are brighter, not just because we have provided a pathway for truth-telling, not just brighter because we provide a pathway to address their concerns and understand them, but to ensure that this Parliament gives full consideration of what we need to do to make sure that the wrongs of the past will not be repeated in the future. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The question